Yo, what's up guys? Joker bringing you another video for the 3.19 Kalandra League, and essentially what it's going to be about is kind of just a couple of things to make sure that you look out for in this upcoming league, right? A couple tips, tricks, items you might want to look out for, stuff like that. Some things that you may not have remembered is coming, but yeah, let's jump right into it. So first thing, it is going to be the Exalted and Divine Orb swap. So essentially, the mods that used Exalted Orbs are now going to use Divines. Currency is going to be more rare. Divines are going to be harder to get in general because they're taking away one of our only ways of getting them. So this means that well-rolled items are going to be worth that much more, as well as well-rolled uniques are going to be worth that much more as well. This even applies to uniques in general, just because of so many uniques being reworked that you're just going to want to pick up every unique you see, because there's a high chance you'll be able to sell it, because a lot of people will be theory crafting and wanting to use uniques. Obviously some a lot more than others, but besides that, I wanted to go over a couple of things that this does impact. So with this swap, like I was mentioning, with the Divine and the Exalted Orb swapping, it's going to be that the services that give us either Divine Orbs or the effect of a Divine Orb is going to be that much more valuable. So this is going to be things like Harvest, those re-rolling the implicits, right? And then it's going to be, besides that, it is going to be things like Rog, where he has the ability of rolling the modifiers on his own as well. Then there's going to be things like Tujin, and so Tujin, Harvest, Heist, and then my fourth thing that I was saying, what was my fourth thing? Tujin, Harvest, Heist, and Rog. Rog is going to be the fourth thing, right? Those are going to be some of the main ways, essentially, of either getting divines or getting the effect of a divine. Um, Apart from that, and the rarity of well-rolled items being something, the fact that they're getting rid of one of the recipes is another. The sixth link is now giving us 20 fusings instead of a divine, and all these other changes that you see here are happening from exalts changing to divines. So this also means that it might be worth just slamming gear. If X is only worth like 20C, might as well yellow slam something with an X if your upgrade's going to be more than the X's cost, right? So that pretty much concludes this first little part. So TLDR, X and Exalted Orbs are pretty much effectively swapping. Divine Orbs are going to be the new king of currency, and well-rolled items are now going to be twice as expensive, essentially. All right, so essentially the next thing is going to be metallic fossils and bound fossils. This is on the list of kind of one of the additional things to look out for just because of the passage notes, right? So metallic fossils, because of the fact that they're lightning modifiers, and this seemed like a really lightning based league, right? So I feel like a lightning like metallic fossils are going to be worth more than the generic fossils. So like if you're doing delve, then try to go towards areas with the metallic or bound fossils, just because of the fact that I feel like these are going to be the main two fossils. Reason for bound is because minions are getting changes and auras are getting changes. So the fact of us losing or a reservation, I feel like people may use bound fossils on items just to get that aura efficiency on items now. And with the new minion items, I feel like rolling them with bound fossils are obviously going to give you a better chance of getting the minion modifiers on those new minion items. Hey guys, real quick, if you get any benefit from this or any of my other videos, if you wouldn't mind liking, subscribing, commenting, it does really help me out. It allows me to put more time into it as well. So I really do appreciate it. All right, so the next thing is going to be Tainted Currency. So since Beyond is essentially turning into Scourge, it's going to be that Tainted Currency is now coming back into the game. This allows us to modify the colors, sockets, and links on a corrupted item. Now, back in Scourge, this was super duper duper strong, but now it seems like it did get nerfed from what I'm understanding. So it's going to be a lot rarer and it is going to be a lot worse. So take it with a grain of salt, but I feel like the fact that it's in the game makes you not want to overlook corrupted items with good implicit corrupted modifiers, just because of the fact that you can now six link those, you can six socket them, you can change the colors, all of those things. And the Trial Master is actually coming back. So in Ultimatum, there was a item introduced to us called Hate Forge, and essentially it was a pair of gloves that apparently led to a rather broken Lightning Strike character, as well as pretty much a lot of Vol skills. I personally actually sucked at making currency back then, so I never bought the Hate Forge and I was never able to play with it. So I am looking forward. This is one of my goals, is to actually get a Hate Forge and try that build, see if it is as strong. So the drop rate may be super nerfed, or the gloves themselves may be super nerfed, because we haven't officially heard anything about it. We heard the Trial Master is coming back with his uniques, but they've neglected to tell us anything about it, of if they're nerfing it, or are they making changes to Hate Forge? Is it the same Hate Forge? Is it every unique but Hate Forge? I don't know why my last recording cut out like that, but essentially that's another thing to keep in mind and keep an eye out for, because Hate Forge were slept on Ultimatum, and they essentially went from like 20C to like a mirror and a half or 2 mirrors. So like keep an eye out for Hate Forge. You might be able to snipe it early and use that build, which was super strong, or go ahead and at least snipe it for cheap and sell it for high later in the league if you don't want to use it. All right. And another thing that I wanted to go ahead and address essentially, and that's going to be starting builds. Pretty much nothing really has changed apart from if you want to play a specific builds. The nerfs to the skills weren't strong enough to take them out of complete viability. So the things like the Skellies and Seismic Trap, from what I understand of those builds, I don't believe they're dead. Looking at them, they're a lot weaker than they were. And especially Seismic Trap, they like quadruple hit that, but I'm pretty sure it's still viable. Apart from that, you still have the ability of going all the generic starters, lightning strike, going so poisonous concoction, lightning strike, EA ballistas, pretty much almost all of the league starters that you've been able to go the last 3 leagues are still viable. Like, they haven't done anything completely meta changing and defining. So look, Righteous Fire, EA Ballista, Poisonous Concoction, Lightning Strike. So everyone's kind of saying the same things, is the same starters that people were telling you to use for the last 3 leagues. Pretty much use them. They're still fine. All right. Sorry for the flashbang if I flashbanged anyone, but next thing, and that's essentially going to be the grand spectrums. Do not sleep on these grand spectrums. They're just mwah. These grand spectrums, in my opinion, are actually really amazing. I love they're like really, really good. So essentially, in case you don't understand what they do, is you're limited to 3, but the effects they give you would just be completely broken if it was unlimited. So that's why it's limited to 3. And you can mix and match these in any way possible. So let me go ahead and give some examples. So with some of them, it is +1 to maximum charges, right? But it's +1 to maximum charge per grand spectrum. So essentially, if you have 3 of these, then you have permanent upcharge on 3 charges. So let me break that down. For 3 jewel sockets, you can have 100% of the time maximum, well, not maximum, but 3 frenzy, power, and endurance charges, which would give you 12% res, 12% physical damage reduction, 12% attack and cast speed, 12% more damage, and 160% crit chance, just for 3 jewel sockets. Or you can go ahead and you can do something like this. 10% for each one, right? So that's a 90% crit multi for a jewel socket. That is insane value, especially if you're going minion crit, right? Because if you think of a GG endgame crit jewel, right? What's the percent that it has on it? Like a mid game one is going to give you about 30-40% crit multi, right? Well, it'll also give you probably like life or something, but still, this is going to go ahead and be giving you, at minimum, if you're using 3 grand spectrums for 1 jewel, 30% crit multi. And you can go ahead and still go get like power charges or frenzy charges or something like that, as well as the fact that there is a life jewel where it's a 15% life. So it would be that you're getting 45% life if you have 3 of these grand spectrums, right? Because it's going to be 15% life. So it's 15% life for 1 jewel socket if you're using 3 grand spectrums once again. So regardless of it, if you're using grand spectrums, you're going to want to be using 3. But the mix and match viability, I mean, you can get free ailment avoidance. You can get 40% ailment avoidance essentially off like 1 jewel. You can go ahead and do something like 1 grand spectrum, one of the ailment avoidance, and then the last thing being like, I don't know, the minion crit multi, right? That way you can go ahead, you're running minions, right? You have a defensive layer, you have extra life, and then you have so much utility with these jewels. So I feel like grand spectrums are, in a lot of cases, at the very least, mid game, they're going to be absolute. Maybe not in min maxing depending on the build, but I feel for like a lot of builds, you're going to want to use these just because the benefits that you get for them are just so good, and it just adds so much diversity. All right, and more of a final notes TLDR recap. So essentially, divines and exalted orbs are swapping. There's going to be less currency. Things that give you the effect of currency is going to be more valuable. Well, roll uniques are going to be worth more. Uniques in general are going to be worth something just because of over the 100 reworks, even if it's just for twink leveling gear. People are going to want them. I feel like Rog, Tujin, Harvest, and Heist are all going to be things that are insanely strong. You're going to want to pick up essentially all rare jewelry pieces because you can throw them in the new Krangler and probably get something completely broken that you're going to get an immense amount of benefit out of. All right. So essentially, the next thing is, like I was mentioning, Tainted Currency is coming back. So keep an eye out for it. Tainted Fusings, Tainted Jewelers, Tainted Chromes. I don't know if the Tainted Mythic's going to see that much use. Apart from that, Metallic and bound fossils because of minion modifiers and aura modifiers. We lost aura reservation. So getting it on a piece of gear may now be actually worth it. Metallic fossils because it's a lightning leak, so it may be easier to hit some mods with this for like the effect of shock, chance of shock, lightning damage, those type modifiers. Hate Forge is back. Keep an eye out for it. Try to snipe it cheap. Unless they completely nerfed it, this is going to be still super strong. And like a week into the league, it'll probably be a couple hundred divines now. Last thing, essentially, don't get baited by any, oh my god, this is OP, or oh my god, this is too nerfed. I'm pretty sure all the league starters we've been using for like the last 4 leagues are all still viable. So unless you're playing something different, don't play a new skill. But apart from that, you're perfectly fine. EA Ballista, Righteous Fire, Poisonous Concoction, Lightning Strike, these are all going to be skills that are still super good. All right, and the last thing is going to essentially going to be the grand spectrums. Do not sleep on the grand spectrums. You can even put up a live search. I feel like a lot of these are going to be used in a ton of builds. They add a utility, maybe not as a completely min-max variation, but for a lot of builds, this is just so much diversity and utilization. I see these selling and being worth everything, regardless of which one it is, because they all just have such good effects, in my opinion. All right, but that was pretty much it. I went ahead and I covered everything. I don't know how long this video is, but I covered everything that I had on my notes to go over, give you guys a heads up of those quick like reminders as well as changes, things that you might want to look out for. So apart from that, I mean, go vote on my poll if I should start an element to this Golemancer or with one of the lightning skills. Right now, lightning skills is losing terribly, so I'm probably going to be a Golemancer at league start. But yeah, apart from that, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay up to date with this and future videos. I'm going to be league starting probably on Saturday. Well, I'm going to be starting, but on league start, but I probably won't be able to have any content or much content about my league start until Sunday because that's my next day off work. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe once again. And until next time, take care.